Hello, hello. Welcome to another edition of Quoth, the Raven, Lewis Bright Raven. I'm your host, Lewis Bright Raven. And, well, things didn't work out this week the way we planned. One of my co-hosts, Chris Hall, had to bail at the last moment. Family matters. Having to take care of some stuff. And so he had to bow out. But I am joined by the guy who's been missing for weeks.
Yep.
That is John Figaro, Biggie Norris. Yay!
Yeah. I finally come back and Chris goes.
Yeah. Well, you know how it is. You know, it's between having to get assignments done and then, I mean, when he called me, I thought something was really seriously wrong, but yeah, like health-wise for him or the wife. That's how it sounded at first, but it wasn't quite that bad. But you know, it can happen at any time for any of us. So you know, it is what it is. But so, how has your week been so far?
It's been good. Tomorrow we start our third weekend of our Freaky Friday show. So after Sunday, it will be all over.
If it doesn't get canceled due to the weather.
Yes.
For those who don't know, we're both in Carolina, and we're in that hurricane potential zone with a lot of rain this weekend. So we're looking at supposedly at least 1.5 inches of rain tomorrow. Maybe more. So who knows what we'll get, right?
Right.
Because we've been known that, well, you're going to get 1 inch of rain, and we don't see a drop, and then other times, you know, well, you're not going to get any rain, and next thing you know, you're waiting to see if your car's going to go drive floating down the street. And we're in the Midlands. We're not, you know, we're not in the really bad area where it could really be damaging. So hopefully everybody stays safe out there. Alrighty. Well, we got a lot to talk about, so let's go ahead and get started with The Batman Second Night, Book 1 for $6.99, publisher DC Black Label. Writer is Dan Jurgens, with art by Mike Perkins and colors by Mike Spicer, lettering by Simon Boland. Editors are Matthew Levine and Chris Conroy. Genre, crime mystery superhero, rated 17 plus mature readers, that is the Black Label brand for DC, released September 17th, 2025. What it's about. The year is 1940. Most of the Western world is embroiled in a war against the fascist regime whose march across Europe shows no sign of defeat. With the specter of global war looming, it's a time of fear and paranoia for those living in Gotham. It's only been a few months since the city was rescued from undead monsters by the masked vigilante known as the Batman. But a vicious killer has been on a murder spree that's taking the city to its breaking point. Bodies are turning up in theatrically gruesome ways, all staged with the killer's calling card, Hangman's Noose. While the Batman endeavors to solve the spate of murders, a young reporter from the Daily Star named Lois Lane arrives in Gotham. Meant to cover a movie premiere, it doesn't take long for Lane to find herself caught in the grips of a new villain in Gotham. One whose mastery of fear will plunge the city into chaos. What did I think of this? Now, this is Batman. Jurgens has captured the feel of the classic Golden Age version of the character. Yes, it's a bit adulterized, and he didn't necessarily have to put the foul language and some of the other stuff in there that made it the 17 plus Black Label. But okay, you know, if that's what he wants to do, I'm not going to argue with him because they marketed it correctly, you know. But they could have done this story without putting it in Black Label very easily. Story was very well paced. I'm not sure how many issues this series will have, but it's moving very quickly forward with the plot, which is what I prefer. Mike Perkins' art is solid. I feel like both Perkins and Jurgens went out of their way to examine those early 1938 to 40 crime noir Batman stories. And I also appreciated how there were scenes where Bruce is navigating his relationships with different parties, both as the grim vigilante and as a hero to different people within the city in different ways. There's a scene with a Jewish couple who are already petrified by what's gone over in Europe with the Nazis, and how Bruce's actions trigger them, and that was very well done, for example. And the Bruce Wayne, Julie Madison, Lois Lane triangle is interesting too. It's just a really good start to the series, and I look forward to the next issue. And I'm going to give it a 4.5. I'm not going to give it a 5 because I want to give it a chance for room to improve as the series goes. And plus, I don't want to put it too high with a 5 and then have the next issues bring it down. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Let's take a little bit of look with the art here. This is an oversized 8.5 by 11. Here's the back cover. All done in one tone there. But that's how it opens with. So you can get an idea of what's going on in the time zone there. And, Perkins's art is really good. I mean, it looks somewhat modern, but it fits what was going on visually in the era. He did a good job of getting the clothing correct. And then the hangman captures one of them, drags him up to the bell tower, ties him up inside the bell, and rings the bell with his body as the centerpiece. So his body is going banging against the sides of the bell. That's pretty much how he kills him. Pretty interesting way of killing someone, right? The colors are a little bit dark in some of the, but it's not like it's unreasonably dark. It fits what's going on, time, and what kind of lighting they had back in that era and stuff like that. So it's not like we're doing a bad job on the coloring. Chris would probably have some comments, but he's not here. Here's a scene where Bruce is he snuck into the Jewish couple's apartment while they were having a conversation, and it freaks the woman out. And he's like, no, I'm not here to hurt you. Yeah. He explains why he's there, and the guy says, well, yes, okay, I understand why you're here, but you could have knocked, you could have let us know you were here, and shown some respect to us, in our space. And Bruce is like, you're absolutely right, I apologize, and everything like that. So that was a good scene. There's just really overall cool stuff here. Here's some more.
Very cool.
So definitely worth the $6.99. Okay. Let's move on to one of John's selections this week.
All right. Biker Mice from Mars, #2. Publisher Oni Press, writer Melissa Flores, artist Daniel Geet on pencils and inks, and Alessandro Santoro on colors. Lettering, Ghost Glyphs Taylor Esposito. Cover artists is Edu Souza and Hal Canola, whom you're seeing right here.
That's Joe.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Sorry, Joe. Joe Canola. Variants by Juan Cabal, Juan Jose Rip, and Leonardo Pacioretty, and Daniel Geet and Ulysses Areola. Editor Carl Bowles. Designer Winston Gambro. genre action adventure superhero. Release date July 23rd, 2025. Rating teen. What it's about. The Biker Mice's first ever ongoing series charges on. Superstar writer Melissa Flores and artistic firecracker Daniel Geet present all-out action for the Red Planet's revolutionary rogues as the new band of villains responsible for Mars's dire disasters step up to the fore. Chaos ensues as Throttle, Vinny, and Moto learn the volcanic eruption that has laid waste to the Martian town of Brimstone was no accident. And when Lieutenant Carbine provides them with intel from the Martian army that may lead them to the culprits behind it all, the biker mice find themselves torn between aiding in rescue and recovery or taking justice into their own hands. And this is the Cabal cover right here, which I also like very much. But what I thought, in this issue, of course, the mites are dealing with the aftermath of the volcanic explosion while trying to figure out the Plutarchians' next move. There's really not much to say, except there is not a dull moment in here. Flores and Geet really balance some great action sequences with some nice character moments for Harley and Carbine, and I give it 4 stars. I give it 4 stars.
Right. I prefer the first cover.
Yeah, I like them both.
Yeah, but here's some of the interior art. This is by Daniel Geet and Alessandro Santoro.
Yep. So that's, of course, Moto on the left page, and then Vinny and Harley on the right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And yeah, that's a nice scene between Vinny and Harley.
Yes, it was. Okay, our next book.
All right, another one of my picks, The Wild West Cowboys of Moo Mesa, #1. Publisher, again, Oni Press. Writer Matt Hodson. Artist Juan Gideon. Colorist Carlos Cabrera. Lettering Jeff Powell. Cover artist is Juan Gideon, which you're seeing here. We have variants by Andrew Cronky, Joe Palmer, Patrick Spaziante, and others. Editor Carl Bollers, designer Winston Gambro, genre action adventure western. Release date September 17th, 2025. Age rating 12 and up. What it's about: the Wild West is about to get even wilder. Based on the classic animated series and their red-hot line of toy collectibles, the Cowboys of Moo Mesa are back and set to ride toward an all-new showdown on the frontier. Before he takes the badge, ride into the lawless border town of Moo Mesa as we meet Marshal Moo Montana in his earliest adventure. In a time gripped by fear and uncertainty, disorder pervades the desert and its citizens have started to go missing, including Moo's former mentor, the respected Sheriff Mary Quine. With shadows growing across the mesa, Moo must navigate old grudges, new alliances, and a conspiracy that reaches deep into the heart of the mesa's past. Bringing together the nostalgic charm of the beloved Saturday morning series with a pistol-slinging new vision, follow Moo Montana, Dakota Dude, Calamity Kate, and more into a saga of justice, mystery, and redemption in a world where honor wears a hat and rides a steed. This is Moo Mesa like you've never seen it before, deeper and more daring. Saddle up, partner. All right. And by the way, this is the Joe Palmer cover. Like, it's not often that I say I really, really don't like a cover, but I really, really don't like this cover.
Yeah, we're in agreement there. We'll get to that in a minute.
Okay. So did you ever watch the cartoon when it aired?
No, I did not. This came out around 95, 96, I believe.
92.
Oh, 92. Okay. Well, anyway, that era was when I didn't really have a TV.
Ah, that's right. I remember you saying that now. Okay, so for those who don't know or remember MESA, it was an animated series that aired in September 1992 and ran for 2 seasons. It was created by comic book artist Ryan Brown, who had worked on the TMNT comics. And the premise was that sometime in the late 19th century, a mysterious irradiated comet struck the American Southwest, causing a seismic shift and raising a giant mesa a mile from the ground. It also transformed the cattle and some of the local animals into their own version of the Old West, with good guys and bad guys. The show spoofed Western tropes, featured plenty of cow puns, and featured some great voice actors, including Pat Fraley, Jim Cummings, and Jeff Bennett. The show spawned action figures, an arcade game, and 2 Archie Adventure comic miniseries. They would actually later cross paths with the Ninja Turtles in the Turtles 2003 show and the Tales of the TMNT comic. And now they are the latest addition to the Nacelle verse. So this first issue tells how Moo Montana became the Marshal of Cowtown, how he met his soon-to-be partners, the Dakota Dude and the Colorado Kid, see, cow puns, and how he strives to live by the Code of the West, which is the COW of the title. Gideon renders the law cows appropriately beefy, as they were in the show. And while Hodson takes a less lighthearted approach with the story, it's still a fun read. I look forward to seeing where the series will go from here. And I like that Spaz cover.
Okay. Like I said, I never watched the cartoon. No TV in college to speak of. I never even heard of the concept until seeing this book. So I'm coming into it without any preconceived notions. I thought the art was decent, but I have seen cleaner art from Gideon than this. But I do get why he drew things in a little bit of a rougher style for this series. It does play up the rough and tumble feel of the Old West concepts, shall we say. Story was decent enough, but the lettering was not my cup of tea, and it at times distracted me. I really did not like the lettering on this book. I did not like that they sort of placed the series as taking place before all of the other Nacelle series, Nacelleverse series. They mentioned that in the inside cover that the story takes place before all the other stories. I felt like if all this stuff is predating the Biker Mice, the Roboforce, the Sectars, the Power Lords, etc., why wait so long to get around to producing their book? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
So that kind of bothered me. I did not like the name Amore Dillos. Call them Armordillos. Because it made more sense. They're armored. And yes, I did get that they were supposed to be Spanish and it's Amore, but they speak in French accents. It's not Hodson's best writing, at least not on that front. His plot, while obvious, is solid. Montana is trying to find his friend Mary, who has gone missing, likely because of the corrupt mayor and deputy. And we're eventually going to see Montana versus the deputy as the penultimate fight, I'm sure. But it's well paced and things seem to be interesting enough. And I like this book better than I did Biker Mice, which as you know, I did not care for the first issue of Biker Mice at all.
Right.
I hated the Palmer variant cover.
Yeah.
The rest of the covers were reasonably well executed, but I like the Gideon cover the best.
Yeah.
But that Palmer cover, it looks like, a 5-year-old looked at Magnolia and tried to copy Magnolia somehow. Terrible art. I'm sorry. But anyway, we both give it a 4 out of 5.
Mm-hmm.
And we recommend it. And here's some of the interior art. And I'm going to see if I can get that up there closer.
Yep. Yeah,
Good work, my lovely Dillos. Let's get the good stuff sweet. No. Oh, yes, I love Robin Z. Wagons. And is it just me or is the lettering just a little bit iffy? I mean, it's readable. I'm not saying, but it just, I don't know.
Like, I'd be curious to know why they went with that font.
Yeah. But, let's see what else they got here. Here's another page.
Yep. So on the left, here's Montana in his official uniform.
Right.
And then on the right, we have several characters that figure prominently in the series.
That would be the mayor. And then the big bull guy is the...
that's Mayor Bulloney and Sheriff Terror Bull. And then the bison is Buffalo Bull. Then you have Boot Heel Buzzard and Saddle Sore Scorpion. And then finally on the bottom, you have Calamity Kate in the hat and Lily Bovine, who is the proprietor of the local watering hole.
Yeah. But I like all of them, as far as, you can tell what, that there's different things going on very, very easily. Well executed that way. Okay. Our next book is Escape number 2 for $3.99 from Image Comics. Writer Rick Remender, artist by Dan Acuna, lettering by Russ Wooten. Genre anthropomorphic action adventure set in the World War II era. Teen Plus rating, released September 24th, 2025. Well, it's about wounded, hunted, and running out of time. Milton Shaw has one shot left to change the course of the war, destroy the Titan cannon before his own side drops the bomb. But as enemy patrols close in and memories of the life he left behind threaten to break him, the mission becomes more than survival. It's redemption. Really well done issue. It gives the reader Milton's pre-war history and the struggles he faced trying to be a good husband and good person in general that he ultimately ran away from to get into the military, tended to escape it, and the regrets he has for doing it now and likely not going to be able to make amends directly because he's probably not going to make it back home alive. It gives him a sense of a purpose and to want to survive. Acuna's art is excellent. I'm really liking his color palette choices in conjunction with his line art. All the art is him doing the line art and then doing color painting over it. There are a lot of excellent line artists in comics who just aren't as knowledgeable or skilled at coloring, partly because of the nature of our industry, which drives people into certain specialties rather than functioning as balanced artists, particularly here in America. Luckily, Acuna is based in Spain, and thus you're sort of expected to know the whole gamut and be good at most of it anyway over there. So overall, just a really strong series so far. One that's probably being sadly overlooked amongst the morass of all the redundant IP brand books. I'm giving it a 4.5 out of 5. And here's some of the artwork. And, this is kind of a dark, mooded palette. He's already crashed and everything. He's trying to find his way to get to where he needs to be to stop the cannon. And then he pulls out the picture of his wife and says, "This is the only person in the world that will actually give a rat's ass if you're gone."
Mm-hmm.
Type thing. But it's just, it's a really well done thing there. And that's what I thought. Okay, well, thought that was the only one. So let me go ahead and pull this out. And again, here's the book. my lighting probably it does seem very dark on the cover, but it's meant to because at nighttime and he's hiding from the people hunting him. But I wanted to kind of go back to where he's remembering being a pilot and doing, aerial shows and stuff like that, and not making much money at it, and his father-in-law is like not approving of him and stuff like that. They're just really well done. And then where he's being hunted by the Ratsies. So just a really cool book. Okay, let's go ahead and go back to the next book, which is Street Sharks #1. And take it away, John.
All right, Street Sharks #1 of 5. This is a 5-issue. This will be a 5-issue miniseries. Publisher IDW Publishing. Writer Stephanie Williams. Artists are Ariel Medell on pencils and inks, and Valentina Pinto on colors, with color assist by Jonathan Dobbs. Lettering Jeff Eckelberry. Cover artist is Phil Murphy right here. We have variants by Jorge Corona and Sarah Stern, Elizabeth Beals, Kevin Anthony Catalan, and Kari Randolph and Emilio Lopez. Editor is Nicholas Nino. Designer Nathan Wittick. Genre action adventure superhero. Release date September 24th, 2025. Rating all ages. What it's about. The first Street Sharks comic in more than 20 years brings you extreme stories and a fantastic time. But don't call it a comeback. They've been waiting for everyone else to get ready for more jawsome adventures. The 4 Bolton brothers were happy playing sports and meeting babes. But when a run-in with a mad scientist turned them into giant sharks, they only got cooler. Kick some serious fin with Ripster, the great white head of the pack, Streaks, the rollerblading ladies man, or ladies shark, Jab, the hammerhead who loves using his noggin, and Big Slamu, the whale shark with the whale-sized muscles on their newest adventure. They'll need all the help they can get to stop their arch nemesis, Dr. Paranoid, from developing the perfect predator. Little do they know, it's already too late to stop the grossest monster they've ever fought from being born. So my thoughts, well, I have a confession to make. I am a Street Sharks fan. I remember seeing the pilot episodes when they first aired in 1994, but I somehow didn't catch the rest until years later as reruns on the Sci-Fi Channel. I never got the toys, but I did eventually get the 2 miniseries that Archie Comics published in 1996, making this the first Street Sharks comic in 29 years, to be exact. I also loved the spin-off show, Extreme Dinosaurs. So when I heard that there was going to be a new series, I was excited, and boy, does this first issue deliver. Williams has said that she was a fan of the show, and it's evident. This issue is, quote, all killer, no filler. Williams and Medell are very efficient with pacing and layout. There's virtually no backstory. The issue hits the ground running, and we're giving little nuggets of backstory as needed. The action is very, very well staged, and each of the brothers' personalities, abilities, and love for each other really comes through. And even the Seviots, the henchmen bad guys, are a cut above the dim-witted henchmen you would normally have. And I like that the story addresses the public's perception of the Street Sharks, particularly in regard to the property destruction that always happens, and there's quite a bit of it. The artwork has a consistency that the show didn't always have. The show was produced by Deke Entertainment, which had a reputation for being cheap and outsourcing their animation. So the quality of the animation sometimes varied greatly between episodes, but Medell draws the characters and lays out the pages wonderfully, while Pinto's colors make everything pop. This is a jawsome issue done by a team who understands the assignment. And if you've been watching the show, I've done a lot of reviews based on animated properties, and some of them stick to the source material and some deviate from the source material. It's one thing to deviate from the source material, but quite a few times they've taken it in directions I didn't think it needed to go, but not here. So if you'll go back to the slide. So I love that they don't try to reinvent the wheel. They embrace the show's 90s roots, big action, bright colors, signature catchphrases like Jawsome, wrestling moves, and streaks as rollerblades, all while making it feel as though no time has passed at all. And I cannot wait for the next issue. I gave it 5 stars. I absolutely loved it.
Cool. I didn't read the book, but I did take a quick perusal through it at the store. Again, this came out as a cartoon. I wasn't into it. I did like some of the wrestling stuff that they use, the stuff they were using that was based in wrestling lore, shall we say, and how they applied that. It's not my cup of tea, but I get why you like it. I would probably, just having thumbed through it, I would probably give it a 3 to a 3.5. But, again, I'm not really keen on the designs of the characters that much. And I don't know. The coloring is just a little bit off for me, I think, on some of them. I wasn't really. I'm sure they fit what was done in the cartoon.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, and then that's probably why I'm just. It doesn't feel right to me, but it is what it is. So there you go. Alrighty, let's go on to the next one. Oh wait, we gotta show some of the artwork for this.
Yes. So when I say the issue hits the ground running, this is page 2 and 3 of the story right here. I mean, you get page 1, you get a setup, and then you're right into the action. And I love this double splash page. And again, I think the action is very well staged. You have all 4 brothers and the Seviots in action, and it doesn't feel cluttered. You can easily follow the action.
Mm-hmm.
And you get a little bit of each brother's personality too. Mm-hmm. And their abilities.
Yeah.
So I thought that was very, very well done. And then for those who don't know, that's on the left, that's Streaks, the tiger shark, and Jab, the hammerhead. And then on the right, the orange guy is Big Slamoo, and Ripster is the blue great white.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, they kind of look like wrestlers in their attire. So it's like you get kind of some of that from it, but I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah.
All right. And there's another page where they're chewing up all the equipment that needs to be chewed up for
to foil Dr. Paradigm's plan, or Paradigm/Paranoid. And of
right.
course, feeding frenzy is another one of their signature phrases.
Right.
And then on the right, we have a reporter, talking about all the property damage that they always sometimes inadvertently do.
Right. Okay. Next one.
All right. So in case y'all haven't noticed, I had a theme this week of animal superhero teams, and I decided to do the Ninja Turtles, and then some animal teams that arose in the wake of the Turtles' success. But here we are with the group that started it all, I guess you could say. TMNT Saturday Morning Adventures, number 27 and 28. I reviewed 2 issues this week. Publisher IDW Publishing. Writer is Eric Burnham. The artists are Sarah Meyer for issue 27 and Dan Schoening for issue 28. The colorist is Luis Antonio Delgado. Lettering Ed Dukeshire. Cover artist for the main cover for 27 is by Sarah Meyer and Valerio Chiola on the variant, and for 28 it's Schoening and Delgado, Aaron Hunting, and Edison Neo as with the variants. Editor is Thea Chook. Genre is superhero action adventure comedy. Release dates July 23rd and August 27th, 2025. Rating all ages. What it's about? Pantheon are now entrenched in New York, and their attention is swinging back to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. This time, it's the surly dragon Draco who sets his sights on a swift and savage ambush from the air. And if there's a fire-breathing bad guy in the game, the Turtles might need to find something new in their bag of tricks to fight back. Luckily, Donatello has just built a prototype suit of armor, but will that be enough, or will it just make Draco mad? Then the terrifying Golgotha tries to trap our team with her sinister siren song. How can the heroes in a half shell escape her hypnotic hijinks and keep her from claiming total victory?
Hold on a minute. I want everybody to pay attention to this cover, particularly Michelangelo at the very back of the thing.
Yep.
Yes, my ass is on fire. Just like they actually put that on there, I was a little bit surprised that was there.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's funny. They would put that on an all ages cover. Okay, go on.
All right, so the Pantheon and Shredder are back on Earth, and they're not happy with old Hobbs' leadership. Krang's solution? Take turns trying to destroy the turtles to earn a chance at replacing him. This gives Burnham, Meyer, and Schoening a chance to spotlight two villains. First up is Draco with his fire-breathing and collapsible artificial wings. And I like that Michelangelo has really held his own in this series, and he does so again here. Next up in issue 28 is Golgotha, the alien scientist with the siren song. Again, we're dropped right into the action, and it doesn't let up. And it's nice to see April and Splinter get in on the action. And there's a crack about Golgotha's pitchiness that made the musician in me chuckle. So these are two entertaining issues.
Okay. I thought Golgotha was sort of an interesting character, but I would have preferred the version we see her on this variant cover. We don't see this person in the comic. We just see her like wrapped up in a shawl the whole time in the comic, and I was not happy about that. But this cover's interesting anyway. But anyway, you gave him 4. I gave him 3. Let's take a look at this is the other covers. This was the main cover for Sarah Maya for 27 and the main cover by Dan Schoening for cover 28. And you can see this Golgotha character is very boring looking compared to the other one. Let me go back. That has an interesting like presence to it to me. Whereas that's just, well, what's under the shawl, you know, and you never get to see it. But that's just me. Let's take a look at some of the artwork.
So this is from 2027. This is Sarah Maya. I just love Sarah Maya's work on this series. I think it's great. Of course, here's Donatello's suit of armor, and there's Draco and his collapsible wings.
And then this is the Dan Schoening for 28.
Yep.
And what's going on here is she's mind controlled them to think that Splinter is Shredder, and they're attacking Splinter, thinking he's Shredder.
Yep. So I think that's a cool page, and of course, then April's getting in on the action, and there's that pitchiness crack that I like.
Where was it? I mean, you're a little pitchy, which also means bitchy. But, you know, whatever. You know, but anyway. But yes, it's also, like you say, the music thing, you know. But, yeah, it's a little bit of both there. But, I don't know. Has different meanings. All right, our next book is The Twilight Zone #1 for $4.99 from IDW Dark. Writer Dan Waters, art by Morgan Beam, lettering by Sandy Tanaka, editors are Nicholas Nino and Ellen Boner. Genre is horror science fiction, released September 24th, 2025. Age rating 14+. Well, it's about. In this issue, a dying billionaire travels to a remote, undisclosed island to receive secret medical treatments and be patient zero in an experiment. Little does he expect that while the treatment will help cure him, the virus killing him evolves and affects everyone else, erasing their faces and leaving them as blanks. As the population on the island dies, what will the surviving billionaire do? Not a particularly well thought out story by Waters. If everyone else gets infected and their faces erased, how the hell are they supposed to breathe with no noses or mouths?
Good question.
Seems to me they all just die pretty damn quickly. And if the billionaire is immune to the disease now, okay. But then the last surviving doctor tells him to destroy the helicopter and remain on the island by himself. And of course, he's not going to do that. There's got to be somebody else who's just as immune as I am out in the world. But okay, at what point did we even establish that he's a helicopter pilot and would know how to fly the damn thing to get off the island in the first place? He rode in the helicopter to get there. There was a pilot separate from him. There's no setup to show that he knows how to fly a helicopter. I have 158 IQ, and I wouldn't know the first thing about how to operate a helicopter. So why am I supposed to just take this for granted that he's going to just take off in a helicopter and leave and presumably make it back to society and infect them with the illness? It's not a good story. I'm sorry. The art by Morgan Beam is well crafted, and I do like the visuals of the issue just fine. But the plot of the story is just lacking. And so much so that I only could give it a 2 out of 5. I'm sorry. But I don't think I have any. I don't know if I have any artwork with it or not. I did not. So let me grab it real quick here. Oh, you got the other one. I thought you were. There we go. Here we are. And again, it's a nice looking book as far as the art goes. But I didn't need like all those blackout while he was out cold getting the treatment. He wakes up and everybody's like walking around with no faces. Yeah. And it's like, well, if you're walking around with no face, how do you breathe? I'm not. And of course, most of them are just, we're dying because they've got no mouths or noses to breathe. How do you function? And then it shows you the process of how it goes from normal to blank.
Okay.
And this is when he's telling him, hey, I'm losing my hair, I'm losing my existence. Destroy the helicopter. And he won't do it. And like I say, he just gets in the helicopter and flies off. Must be nice that you can do that, right?
Yeah.
But when he takes off, it doesn't really finish the story. It's just like he just took off and left the island. And he's like, where am I going? Where am I going? What's going on? Okay, whatever. And he goes into the Twilight Zone, which was kind of a weak ending too. So I was not a fan of that particular issue. I'm sorry. I will continue it and see what the second issue is like, but I've seen better stories from Dan Waters, much better stories. All right, our next book is The Wrath Vermillion, paperback for $13. There isn't a publisher. Vincent Ray, the writer artist, self-published, crowdfunded it. Colors for the cover was Alonso Espinoza. Age rating 14 plus. Release date was earlier this summer in 2025. I think it came out like late July, maybe early August. Anyway, The Wrath Vermillion depicts a story of Mordoon, an elite soldier who is in a desperate gambit to save his life, made a deal with an eldritch deity at the cost of his humanity and everything he once stood for. As Dallas Herald, he sets off on a deluded quest to tear down the empire of lies while being hunted by those he once loved and trusted. This graphic novel is for fans of Lovecraftian horror, grim dark fantasy, science fiction, and anti-hero narratives. The story is okay. The art is pedestrian. It's not bad by any means, and I wouldn't have backed it if I thought otherwise. But the packaging and the shipping was terrible. The book arrived damaged and really kind of ruined my review and stuff, you
Hmm.
can kind of see how the book's cover is.
Wow.
And this is after being in a straightener for 2 months.
Wow.
So you can imagine how damaged I got it. And you can actually see, well, maybe you can't see it, but there's like a dent right in here, right in the smack in the middle of the book. And that's because the guy didn't pack it right, and my mailman just shoved it in the mailbox instead of bringing it to the door like they usually do.
Of
He didn't
course.
realize it was a comic. He thought it was, because it was not packaged right. And I did try to contact Zoop where I ordered it. I did try to contact Vincent. Apparently he's in Greece. Totally on no luck contacting him back. So anyway, was not happy about that. But it is what it is. Like I said, the book is okay. I would put it on par with, say, Tony McMullen's Destroying Angel Lumen, had the book been in color. Unfortunately, it's black and white with red color spots, a little bit of other color spots here and there. And more like Venom, Black, White, and Blood, which means I have to be a little more critical of the line art than I was with Tony's book. And Vincent Ray's work is, well, certainly decent for a first published effort. That's what it is. A first published effort with all the flaws and mistakes you could expect to find. A full color done well would have covered up some of those flaws, but it also made the book much more expensive and to the cover, paying the colorist and the printing cost. So, you get what you pay for. If this was a color book, it probably would be closer to $20 to $25 instead of $13. I probably would be a lot less critical had the book been shipped properly, but overall, I just found the book to be meh. I give it a 3. If it hadn't been damaged, it probably would have got a 4. But I kind of have to criticize him on his shipping because, you're shipping overseas. You should know better than to ship stuff in a bag. It should be shipped in the proper packing box for that sort of thing. But oh well. Let's take a little bit of a look at the artwork. Black and white with a little bit of red for the cape or whatever here. I didn't really care for the lettering on the book. It wasn't consistent. Can you see well enough how the eyes are like the capital letter eyes?
Yeah, I can.
With the top cross and bottom cross, you do not do that as a letterer. That's a no-no. That's only for the use of the word I as you, the singular person. Yeah. Speaking of yourself. So that did not look good. And there was a few other things like that, type of mistakes in the lettering. And then he does weird coloring things again here and there, which make the lettering a little bit hard to read. White on yellow should have been black on yellow to read it better. Things like that. The art, again, you've looked at when I've reviewed Destroying Angel Lumen. You see similarities, yes?
Yes.
Yeah, so okay. So I'm not really against that. I just wish I'd a little more craftsmanship. But for a first-time effort, it's not bad. All right, our next book is The Complete Web of Horror hardcover collected edition from Fantagraphics, $49.99. Writers include Otto Binder, Terry Bisson, Bernie Wrightson, Sid Shores, Bruce Jones, and Frank Bruner. Artists include Barry Wrightson, Ralph Reeves, Michael Kaluta, Frank Bruner, Bruce Jones, Sid Shores, and others. The cover is by Jeffrey Catherine Jones, and the editor is Dana Marie Andra. Genre, horror, duh. Released June 4th, 2024. In other words, I've had this for a long time and hadn't. I don't know if I got this when it first came out. I know I ordered it a long time ago. And I've been sitting on it for a while. But age rate 14 plus. What it's about. In 1969, a feisty new comics magazine emerged to rival this with popular horror magazines Creepy and Eerie, and that magazine was Web of Horror. Conceived by a plucky independent publisher, Web of Horror showcased instant classics of horror and science fiction by rising stars of comic art of the era as Bernie Wrightson, Michael Polito, Bruce Jones, Ralph Reese, Frank Turner, Roger Brand, and Wayne Howard, as well as seasoned veterans as Sid Shores and Norman Nodell, were all illustrating stories written by Otto Binder, Nicola Cudi, and others. Now, over 50 years later, Fantagraphics presents the complete Web of Horror in one expertly edited and designed volume. In addition to all 3 published issues of the magazine, this collection includes over a dozen stories intended for subsequent issues that have rarely or never before been published, several long thought to be lost and recently unearthed. Among those lost stories is Wrightson's Monster Jar, lovingly restored by Frederick Manzano. The complete Web of Horror also features a wealth of historical and contextual essays, including a foreword by the original Web of Horror era editor and science fiction novelist Terry Bisson, an account of the magazine's origin by the late Clark Diamond, and that is how they spell it. It's not misspelled. The history of the magazine's rise and baffling demise by the collection editor Dana Marie Andra, reminiscences by fanzine publishers Robert Lewis and Robert Pearson, and an afterword by Richard J. Arndt. Now, I mostly got this because of the rights and stuff. I mean, it's early, when he was young, just breaking in, and I got my money's worth tenfold because of all the stuff that's in this book. It's a great historical. All the essays are on par with the back issue level quality, and you guys know how much I love back issue. Too many great stories to list, and I didn't mention every single creator that is in the talent credit listings when I was describing the book. But let's take a look at this. I give it a 5 out of 5 because it's a 300-page volume to begin with. I mean, you're just getting a masterful book here. Here it is. Nice and thick. And here's some Wrightson for you.
Nice.
And this is their host, the Spinster. Or Webster the Spinster, I should say. And I just think that's a really cool, spidery-ish critter that Wrightson designed. Again, Wrightson was very prominent in the series, and that's one of the reasons why I was really wanting it. But there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 17, 18, 19, 20. There's 40 stories in this magazine, in this collection. So 40 complete stories in 300 pages for $50 is certainly worth your money. And again, Wrightson colored and Wrightson design for the
very cool.
Let's see what else is in here. They had art contests with the color covers that you could see. So yeah, I mean, just absolutely wonderful stuff. Let me go find some of the other art that wasn't by Wrightson in here. Although Wrightson, like I said, is a key thing in this. Here's some Kaluta art. early Kahlua. So, there's a lot of stuff in this thing, but definitely worth every penny for this one. Five stars. Okay. I think that covers what we got. Now, Chris had planned to be here, but unfortunately, he had some family things come up. So next week, he'll be back, hopefully. We'll all be here next week, hopefully, barring any unforeseen circumstances. And we got a lot to cover. So what are we covering next week? Well, we got Orphan and the Five Beasts, Bath of Blood, The Pale Knight, number 4 and 5, Batman, year 2, number 1 from the Batman Free Comic Day. John's going to get us caught up on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Saturday morning with number 29. We're going to keep up with the Venom Red, Black, and Blood. Or Black, what is it called again?
Black, White, and Blood.
Black, White, and Blood. Okay. All right. Zootopia, because he's been behind on Zootopia. We're going to get caught up on Zootopia. I just got the Dracula, the Brides Volume 2, and I don't remember if I reviewed. Did I review number 1? Do you remember reviewing number 1?
I don't remember, honestly.
Okay, well, I'm sure I have it here somewhere, so I'll review those. John's going to get us caught up on Darkwing Duck. Hopefully, the last day of H.P. Lovecraft, which was supposed to be out 2 weeks ago, will be out next week. Texarkana number 3, Pest Control, which I just got as one of the crowdfunding campaigns. Viking Moon number 1, which I just got today. That's the Joe Pruitt book about the werewolves versus Vikings. So that should be a cool book. And we're not done. Oh my gosh. Assuming that these books actually come in stores next week, we'll have Author Immortal number 1 from Image, Vanishing Point number 5 from Mad Cave, Shudder number 25, and Resident Alien Book of Changes number 2. So who knows? We'll see you guys next week on the channel for reviews. Now tomorrow, assuming Chris is available, he got burned out on documentaries and wanted to do a regular movie. So we went off to Tubi Land, and he wanted me to watch Color of Space. So that'll be tomorrow night at 8 p.m. And that's assuming that I have internet with the rain, and John's going to be doing his thing over doing Freaky Friday.
Yep.
But we'll see. In the meantime, thanks for watching. If you want to reach out to me on social media, you can find me on Facebook at Lewis.BrightRaven, at the Muskrat Channel X at LewisBrightRaven2. You can see my artwork at deviantart.com/BrightRaven. You've been watching Quoth the Raven, Lewis BrightRaven exclusively on YouTube. To email me, quotheravenlbr72@gmail.com. If I don't get back to you, try lewisbrightraven@yahoo.com. And if you want to reach out to John, it's Gray Figaro.
GrayFigaro@hotmail.com.
There you go. So, wow, that was pretty quick. We got through it in under an hour, almost a little bit over an hour. That's fast for us. But, of course, we don't have Chris.
That's right.
But, yeah, it takes time, everything. We're kidding, Chris. But we're really not, because you saw how long the last video was, right?
Mm-hmm.
Over 3 hours, because Chris was like, I got more questions. But anyway, yeah, so there you go, folks. And we'll see you guys tomorrow at 8 p.m. for the movie night. Until later, have a great evening. Catch you next time. Quoth the Raven, nevermore.
Nevermore.